Hi everyone, for 5th grade, lesson 40 in our Elevate groups, we are working on comparing fractions with like denominators, specifically with using fraction models. Today, students are going to see fraction strips and they are going to see circular models. So you're going to start the day with 2 I do activities using fraction strips. In these models, you are comparing 2 fractions using one model. So students are comparing 4/6 and 2/6 and identifying which is larger within the whole. So students will have to shade in 4/6 and then have the other fraction unshaded 2/6. What they see is that when they were asked to shade in the 4/6, 4 of those pieces are occupied, whereas 2 of them are not. And so 4/6 is greater than 2/6, right? Then you'll model the same activity down here. This time we are working with fourths. From there, you're going to jump into a we do activity with students using circular models. Same concept as above, however, it's just a different shape for the model. You'd want to ask students which model has a greater fraction of the whole shaded, comparing these two, right? And then a follow-up question is, how can we tell which fraction is greater just by looking at the numerators and the denominators? The reason why you want to ask this question is because later on in the lesson, students are going to have the opportunity to compare fractions without models. And so we want to gauge their knowledge of just the number sense, right? So students should be able to say, well, in the fraction 1/4 and 2/4, we see that the denominators are the same. And so when the denominators are the same, we then have to look at the numerators. And the fraction with the largest numerator is the fraction that is greatest. So that is a nice little turn and talk that you can launch students in, or you may just want to say this to stamp that knowledge for students, but then have them write down what you're saying so that they have it in the back of their minds as well. And then here's another opportunity for a turn and talk, right? Caleb wants to compare 1/3 and 2/3. Which numbers does he need to compare? Same thing, solidifying this turn and talk question, but this time giving students the opportunity to write it down. Again, the denominators are the same, so we need to look at the numerators. Because 2 is a larger numerator than 1, we will say that 1/3 is less than 2/3. Then we want to launch students into about 10 minutes of independent practice or group time. It's up to you. The first part is comparing the fractions using models. And then the second part, students are still comparing models. However, in this question number 4, they will see 5/8. Students may get confused. Just remind them that in our fraction models, order doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether the shaded pieces are all together or are on one line. It's about how many shaded pieces there are and how many unshaded pieces there are, how many total parts there are. So even though these models look different, both of them represent that 5 pieces are shaded out of 8 total pieces. And then for question number 5, students might struggle with the number line, which is why I went ahead to draw a fraction strip above that number line. So when they're comparing 6/8 and 2/8, students might say, okay, I don't know what this dot represents. I need to maybe figure out how many total parts there are, and then write 1/8, 2/8, 3/8 under every tick mark. However, the alternative is that they can draw a fraction strip just like I have over here, using the tick marks to break up the fraction strip, and then shade in the number of pieces up until that dotted line to see which fraction is greater, okay? And now for this part right here, students will have to draw a model for each fraction. Please please make sure that they are being consistent with the fraction model they're using. So note that here, both of the models are circular, and for this question, both of the models are rectangular. Just make sure that they're not doing one of them circular and one of them fraction strip, because they might get confused in seeing the visual. Then we have some word problems that students are going to jump into. Some more independent practice. Please skip questions 2 and 3 because they are not aligned with today's lesson, which is on comparing fractions with like denominators. So as you can see in question 3, we're comparing 1/5 and 4/5. Skip that question, as well as for the exit ticket, go ahead and skip questions 1 and 3. Because they do not have like denominators. Students will spend about 5 minutes. You'll give them a score out of 2 points to see whether they have mastered the content or not.